Hi all, I have another interesting game to show you today of Leela Chess Zero, 445. So this was against Equinox. D4 from Leela Zero. We have knight f6, c4, g6. We go into the King's Indian defense. Knight f3. We have the slightly unusual b6 now. Bishop e2, bishop b7, queen c2. Both sides castle. Knight bd7, rook d1, trying to dissuade e5 because there'll be a pin to exploit, for example, like this. So queen e8 was played, b3, sorry, not b3, bishop e3, c5, d5. So white has a space advantage. This bishop is slightly blunted as well. Knight g4. The bishop drops back, knight g e5. Now here things get very interesting. Leela Chess devises a way to gain a lot of space now on the king side. Can you see the preliminary move? This might not occur to you, actually, this move, but it does seem as though it's got a lot of venom. So if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, what would you play here if you're a mad attacking player? Okay, knight h4. Yeah, in fact, so black's use of e5 is a potential tempo game for f4. We have bishop a6. That pawn is protected. Knight f6. And now f4. The knight goes back. And now guess what? What does white play here? g4. Now, disclaimer, when you push your own pawns in games, make sure it's not going to backfire. Either weaknesses around your king, but here, because the center is locked, that's one indicator that there might not be an immediate punishment of this available. This bishop's kind of not very useful. So it doesn't actually seem as though this vacuum of weaknesses is that exploitable. So just make sure you don't get blasted off the board though in your own games if you play like this. Queen d8, g5, knight e8, king h1. Already, this is great foresight that the g file might be useful later. Now, at the moment, it seems there's no way white can break open the g file, right? Absolutely no way. And yet, preparations have been made for breaking open the g file. So what's going on here? As though, you know, rook g1 later. Knight c7, a4, clamping down on b5. So black is without counterplay on the queen side. Black would maybe take forever to try and arrange b5, and even then, there's such a clamp on b5 here. So what does black do? Black waits, bishop b7, and now rook g1, but this is a pointless g-file, right? There's no action there. Bishop d4, rook g2, knight a6, queen d3. What's going on here? The queen is going somewhere where it's more relevant for the opponent's king. Queen h3, potentially eyeing h7, bishop c8. But here now we have a move which does potentially provide a route in on g-file. Fantastic dynamic move. It's a move actually that I'm reminded of a Glorich game in the King's Indian defense. So what would you play here with white if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video? So you're a super aggressive, mad attacking player. What would you play here? You want to break open the g-file later. This helps facilitate it in some way later. Okay, lovely stuff. Knight f5. Let the force be with you, Leela, as they say in Star Wars. Luke in Star Wars. The force being, it's just a good intuition for the position, how the g-file can be broken into. Now black took this. If it's ignored, then knight h6 check, bishop g4. This is very strong for white. It's going to be, clearly, it's very strong. It's going to be a bit of a disaster. Here's a precise variation, for example, showing a disaster, winning material. So the knight is taken. And what this means is that this pawn is now mobile. And so if white does double rooks, there's g6 as a breakthrough. So e takes f5. So there's now a g6 breakthrough, which would open the g file. Knight b4, rook ag1, just building up. And look at black's rooks and pieces. They're just totally irrelevant. It's as if these brute force chess engines really don't have a clue about king safety. So we have a5, just waiting and watching for this attack to build up to gigantic proportions. White just improves the pieces. Knight e4, a lovely e4 square. Look at this lovely central knight. Knight a2. Bishop g4 just building up even more to make f6 even more effective. Or g6 even more effective. Either of these two pawn breaks now black has to be wary of. Rook e8. And now g6 is played here. hg, fg. The bishop is ready to use the e6 square. Black desperately plays f5. This looks horrible already. If knight f6, I'll show you an example variation, takes, yeah, it's just horrible. So I'm just showing you a nasty variation here, which is basically like an example checkmate variation. So black played f5, bishop takes, knight f8, bishop takes c8, rook takes, f5, a very aggressive pawn wedge around black's king. Queen d2, now eliminating that defender, that key defender, that g7 bishop. This is just, yeah, it doesn't look very promising when the queen has given up to 2 pawns in the absence of anything to do. So anyway, the game's basically over, yeah. And yeah, there was a threat of queen h8 checkmate, so inserting that before taking the queen, f6 check, the game ends here, adjudicated. If takes, then there's a nice way of mating actually with queen h7 technically, because we can get this position with a nice mating pattern of knight takes f6 with the rook g8 coming. If we want to be suave and sophisticated about it, the game could end like this. So anyway, on one level, yes, another crude attacking game, but really it shows that the elegance of building up behind in a closed position. And I admire that elegance. I once saw a Michael Adams game where he sort of doubled up rooks in a French defense game, just built and then broke through. So that's kind of template we can use in our own games. We want to build up our pressure before the breakthrough, before the pawn break. But the knight sacrifice did really mean that the doubling of rooks had a major point to it because of the g6 break, liberating that g-file, creating a very, very dangerous pawn wedge in which you just needed to get rid of the defender, basically. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this and got some instructive attacking chess from it. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks very much.